True or false? Hospice should be notified prior to ordering labs, x-rays, treatments, or potential admission to hospital for authorization. So when a patient is here and they're on hospice and something happens, maybe they fall, or maybe they, I don't know, have a sore that's gotten out of control or something like that happens, the hospice is the person, the team that really needs to be notified first and foremost. So if something's going on with the patient, we're taking primary responsibility for making sure that patient is okay. For your guys' team, again, consider yourselves a caregiver. So if you were a person at home taking care of your loved one that was on hospice and something happened, you would call the hospice team. Same thing goes for you guys here. It's different and a little more complex because you guys are a medical facility somewhere, and you guys handle and take care of the patients too. So when that happens, and when and if it happens, you guys are to call us first and foremost to make sure that we can kind of tag team and make sure we can take care of the patient as best as they need to. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Go to the next one. ECF staff and hospice team work together on their care planning for the continuity of care of the patient. We've had hospice patients that have been on hospice for years. To be on hospice, you have to be considered terminally ill with a life expectancy of less than 6 months. That's hospice criteria. But we've had patients that have been on for years. And so I'm sure you guys have seen patients here that have been here for a long time and they're on hospice. Sometimes that happens. It's not a bad thing. And so we have to continually meet with your team to make sure that the plan of care is continuing to progress in the right direction for that patient. So we do a lot of different team meetings. Usually our director of nursing will stop by and speak with your guys' director of nursing and kind of make sure everybody's still on the same page with certain patients, especially when the patient's been alive for longer than expected. Number 11 says hospice care. A, recognizes dying as a natural part of life. That's true. Affirms life and neither hastens nor postpones death. True. Cares for whole person and family or caregivers. True. Provides grief support to the family. True. We've talked about all those. Common fears of the terminally ill patient are, all these are true, being a burden, pain, lack of control, losing one's dignity. What do you think it means when they say being a burden?
The way you're doing something that's taking care of them, or like they're in your way of your life themselves.
Yeah, and you can see that, right? I mean, you would feel like that if you were, kind of bedridden or something like that, and somebody was always having to take care of you. You could see how that would be. You'd feel like you were a burden to somebody else. Obviously, with the pain, people are always worried about that with dying. What's going to happen to me when I start progressing? Am I going to be in so much pain? And so those are things that we address. Lack of control, the feelings of not having things settled in your life, or whether that be internal things or family things. We do interventions with family, when they come in. And we're at the nursing home. Families will come up from around the world and show up when their loved one is passing away. We do interventions with the family to make sure that everybody's in a good place, and we can kind of see that. We take that as our responsibility. And losing one's dignity. Dying can be a difficult thing to see yourself in. So that's one of our big pushes, is to make sure the person has dignity in that time of their life. Respite care can be provided at your facility. Yes, that is true of townhouse. 14. The 4 levels of care available in hospice are continuous care, meaning we are continually involved in the care of the person. Doesn't mean that we're with them 24 hours a day, but we can be if we have to be. B was respite, which you guys know. C is home or living facility, which is here or somebody's house. Or D, inpatient. Our service, because Parkview, what differentiates us from the other service providers, we have our own hospitals. So that benefits us in the sense that if a patient needs to be at a hospital or chooses to be at a hospital, we can have them go to PRMC or Randelia or one of the other Parkview hospitals, and we can do hospice from there. If I'm a hospice agency and I do hospice from home, and somebody says I want to do hospice inpatient, they're going to be looking to a townhouse or a nursing home to do inpatient hospice there. Does that make sense? How's the difference there? So that's kind of the quiz. I know it's relatively short, but it's just kind of a way to sort of refresh on what hospice is. But the thing I really want to emphasize with hospice is that it carries with it a stigma of, you know, you get on hospice when you just give up and you're going to die. But that's not what it is. What hospice is the next step in someone's journey of their life. You know, so we all live, you know, we're born and we're all going to die, right? Now, one of us are going to be physically here forever. So we were born, we're going to die. So when we look at it like that, we don't have to be afraid of dying because we know that it's already coming. So for our patients that are on hospice, the thing that we want to emphasize is in the journey of that person's life, from birth to death, hospice is just the next step in that life, you know, in that progression. Right now, the majority of people that pass away in America die in a hospital. You know where in a hospital? If you had to guess. ER. In the ER. Why does that happen? It happens because people choose to fight and fight through things as much as they can to the point where then they end up passing away in an ER because they, you know, didn't choose to seek the comfort care or measures because of their terminal illness, and then they end up falling or something happens at home and then they get rushed to an ER and they die. And so what we have the opportunity to do is help them realize that it's not something to be afraid of, that we at hospice don't view death as something to be afraid of, but that we can actually look at it as saying, hey, this could be an opportunity to help get things going in your life and settle things in your life so that when you die, because you're already going to die at some point, get it in line with where you want it to be when you pass away. So it can really be not just so much a way to find peace with yourself, but it can be a way of leaving your family with a very, I don't know, settled way, if that makes sense. Sound good? Does anybody have any questions about hospice or parkview? Well, my role at the agency is not only to do the in-service trainings for you guys once a year. We're actually, I told Amanda that we're creating a video, a hospice training video for you guys that kind of describes what we do when we come into the facility. So it'll show like kind of our nurses out in the field and kind of what we do. And then that way they can play that for you guys, you know, whenever you get, you know, need refresher courses or, you know, if you have new staff come on or and those types of things. So you don't have to hear me every year. You can just watch the video. So, but my role, not in just doing those things, but I also, when a patient gets admitted to hospice at a facility like a nursing home, like townhouse, I will usually come in a couple days after the patient's been admitted and just kind of get an overall view of what's going on. So I kind of oversee the operations of our hospice and the ECFs. So if the patient has a very complex situation, I see how I can get involved and make that a little bit less stressful for you guys and for our staff. If it's, you know, going great, great. You know, you probably won't see me. If it's very complex or anything, the goal is to kind of just make sure everything's running smoothly. I always like to look at it like, if you think of a restaurant, you go to a restaurant, you get a meal, and the waiter or waitress comes up to you and they serve you food, right? That would be probably like our nursing staff that would come and deliver the product to our customers, which is the patients here in townhouse. But along the way, you have people that come along and maybe they'll bring, you know, water to your table or whatever, just, you know, fill up your drinks. And then at the end, you'll have somebody like a manager that will come along and just kind of say, how was your service? Is everything going okay? Can I get you anything? You know, if it wasn't good, let me fix that for you. So I'm kind of those roles. The guy that kind of comes and fills your water and then comes at the end and makes sure the service is okay. If you want to look at it like that. So you may see me around, and if you do, just say hi if you want to. And hopefully we can just continue to provide excellent care for our hospice patients here. Any questions? Well, we got it under a half hour, so that's good. So.
No.
But I appreciate it.